Welcome to the panel where two bootstrap founders talk about building a better life and a better business. I'm Justin Jackson, the co-founder of Transistor.fm.
I'm Brian Castle. I am building something brand new, and maybe I'll even reveal the name and the domain today. We'll see.
Ooh. We're both chatting while it looks like the world is on fire. I was just sharing this with Brian before we got on here.
I must have been in a hole because I haven't heard about this until just now. So.
Yeah, we heard about it in chat right away. So this is what I'm seeing. Spotify down, Google Cloud down, Google Meet, AWS, Discord. And then if you look at, you got Cloudflare.
Is it showing up on like news outlets?
I don't know. That would be interesting. Is it down everywhere?
No, I mean, are people reporting on...
Yeah, I don't know. Let me jump into Apple News here quick. But for Spotify to be down, like for the Spotify web app to be down, that is wild. It is interesting to me when like stuff like this, you'd think it would hit the news outlets right away. But if I just put broad outage, what does that... Massive internet outage reported. What could cause this? Like for the whole internet to go out all at the same time?
Some kid
is the entire internet down?
Some kid. One kid just brought it all down.
Some kid just pasting in commands from ChatGPT.
Yeah, one ChatGPT prompt went totally wrong.
But somehow Riverside is working. Somehow YouTube is working. It's like, yeah, this is wild. So yeah, hopefully we'll have lots of people join us live. We got Corey here. We got Emmett just joined.
Got the fellow Mets fan here, Emmett. We're rooting for the best team in baseball right now. So.
Oh, dude, tonight my Edmonton Oilers are playing again, and sports are heartache. Like sports is just heartache.
You know,
I don't like it.
Okay, let's talk about this. This is just a random topic.
Yeah.
Sports, right? I've really picked it back up. I've been a lifelong sports fan, especially New York sports. But I put it down for like 15 years there in the early part of my career. Picked it back up probably in the last 5 or 6 years, and especially lately. I think what I notice is that there are a lot of like hardcore sports fans who follow everything, follow the entire league, every player, all the ins and outs of it all. I am a home team sports fan. I'm deep into the storylines of the New York Mets and the New York Knicks. Yeah. Like those are and you know, I'll follow like the playoffs and I like to tune into like, you know, tennis and golf on like the major tournaments and stuff like that. But and like I'll follow like March Madness, I'll follow the NFL playoffs. But I am like personally invested in the storylines of the players on the Mets and the players in the Knicks. Yeah. And that's what's most interesting to me.
It is kind of fun. I mean, as much as what I don't like is I think the NHL playoffs are the hardest sport tournament in ever. It's 4 rounds. You have to win 4 games. It's like the first
kind of like the NBA playoffs. They just drag on forever.
It just goes forever. And it can feel like you get through one series and you're like, that felt like the Stanley Cup playoffs, like the finals. But that wasn't the finals. That was just the first round. And then you got to do a second round and a third round and a fourth round. It's just so hard on the players, but also on the fans. Yeah. I think I eat about 10,000 calories every game.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm just nervously eating the whole time.
I mean, the NBA playoffs are this, and they happen right now at the same time. You know, it just drags on for so long. And like, as much as I wanted to see the Knicks make it into the finals, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I was a little bit relieved when they got knocked out, because I'm like, all right. I mean, I still actually watched, you know, some of the finals last night, but like, it's just so many games, and it's like it's summer already. Like summer is not basketball. I'm done now. I'm ready for baseball. You know.
I mean, I would like some relief from these playoffs, just from the agony of it all. It was really nice when I was in London at this podcast show because the Oilers games were on at like 1 a.m. So then you just wake up the next day and you look at the highlights. And you're like, okay, win or lose, you're not like as invested.
I'm not a huge NHL fan, but I as a kid I went to a lot of New York Islanders games.
Oh, sweet.
And I loved seeing it live. Like that. I really think hockey is one of the best live sports.
I actually don't know. To me, every other sport feels slow. Like hockey is so
if you're used
fast.
to hockey, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And like football is like, God, this takes forever, you know?
Football really is. I mean, I know it gets like loud and exciting live. I've been to a few Giants games, but like football is really a TV sport. It's so much better on TV, I think, especially
live.
Especially with like the graphics. You see the line of scrimmage and all that. Like, I don't know. And like, it's like based on where you're sitting at an NFL game, you could be so far away from the action. You know?
All right. So. That's our sports talk for this week. Let us know in the comments if you like the sports talk. We might do some more. Maybe from my side, I can do a quick update on what I've been thinking about and working on.
Let's hear it.
We're doing lots of exploratory work around video and HLS right now. The big challenges that we're facing right now is hosting and specifically bandwidth costs for video. There are a lot of people in the podcast ecosystem that think this is an impossible task. There's a lot of commentary that even YouTube can't make video streaming profitable at scale. Like nobody really knows YouTube's numbers.
Yeah. I went deep into this with Clarity Flow. We could.
Yeah, we should. So our friend of the show, Aaron Francis, has a great article on how they ended up doing it. And, that's where most of us are leaning, is basically using Cloudflare R2. Is that the way you went with Clarity Flow?
We are using all AWS infrastructure right now. But early on, like in the first year of Zip Message, I spent a lot of time looking at mux.com.
Yeah.
And they have really good looking like APIs for both streaming and recording and stuff. But we did like a deep dive, like cost comparison analysis and like sort of like modeling out like what if our usage gets to this level or that level, what do the costs look like? And it still worked out that like just streaming and storing with all AWS stuff works best for us. And the other thing is like, so it would be much more complicated for you with like long form content, and also like I don't know if you're doing like live stuff, but like like all of our models and calculations were based on like, well, what's the average number of recorded minutes per account per month, and what's the cost to store it, to transcode it, to transcribe it, to stream it, to download it. And so like all those are like a little bit of cost that add up. And like we get the question all the time about like customers will come in and say like, what happens if I have like thousands of recorded minutes a month?
Mm-hmm.
And like our analysis of our actual users, even our most active users, like nobody even comes close to that.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of like async video messaging.
Yeah.
Like they'll do a bunch of async video messaging, but then a lot of it is like text. A lot of it is just audio.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, our problem, like I won't show you live, but if you look at how much bandwidth we're doing just with audio, it is beyond, it is just so huge.
Yep.
And those are, 50 megabyte to 100 megabyte files. But as soon as we get into video, and, the nice thing about HLS is you can do it at different screen resolutions, and you only pay for what you're sending in chunks, right? Mm-hmm. But still, 4K video is like, that can be a 2 gigabyte file. Mm-hmm. And that's just a whole different, and podcasts unfortunately have the thing where they're long. Like our last episode was an hour and a half. So,
Right.
and what we're doing right now is our whole point is we want to build a prototype with the panel podcast where there's an alternate enclosure that points to an HLS streaming URL that then a podcast player like Pocket Cast could pick up and use that as the source for the video episode.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm.
So you mean like if I'm like subscribed to any podcast, and I want like currently I download the audio onto my device and then I listen to it when I'm ready.
Yeah.
But you're saying like I would not download the actual video. I would be sort of like streaming it off of your servers.
That's right. Yeah. In small little chunks. So it gets chunked out. Yep. So the default behavior right now is every time you click play in Apple Podcasts or Pocket Casts or Spotify, it is requesting that MP3 from Transistor or one of our competitors, and it's essentially just downloading that whole file locally. Yep. Even if it says it's streaming, it's really just, it downloads it from the host and then it quote unquote streams. This would be quite different. This would be actually in real time. It gets chunked out in little pieces. And if you only watch 2 minutes, we will only send you 2 minutes of that file. The interesting thing is that we can also use this for audio. And so there's always this chicken and egg thing with, open protocols and open web. Like you want to introduce something new. And this happens on the web. Like if they want to introduce a new HTML tag, they all have to talk and coordinate and say, okay, what are we going to add, to the browsers and so we all render the same thing, right? It's the same thing in podcasting is I think eventually HLS streaming, whether it's audio or video, will be the thing that the modern way to do it. And not everybody will, support it, but that we can stick with the old way of doing it, which is you point to this audio file. And then we have these alternate enclosures for video HLS streaming, but also audio HLS streaming.
My mind goes to, or my question goes to, what is the market demand for this and what is like the job to be done? Because obviously it sounds like a big technical lift to do this. What's the fundamental problem that this is solving? And I wonder, because like the thing that I think about is, I think that a typical like public facing podcast that's like discoverable, that's like shareable, the objection is just going to be like, well, just put it on YouTube. It's going to end up on YouTube anyway. But I think that the use case that's sort of interesting, I don't know if this fits into like podcasting per se, but like private podcasting, right? Like stuff that you just don't want to be public, but you do want to share with some group of people, or maybe like a group of 100 people, like in your organization or in your community, but not public to the internet, and still have video. Like that's interesting. Or like the other case I think of is like course content or like stuff that needs to be like behind some sort of membership.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think there is an application in private podcasting. To back up, who's asking for this? Our customers are asking for it in the sense that they want to publish their podcast everywhere. And when they ask us about video, they'll say, hey, do you have video podcast hosting? We'll always say, well, what does that mean to you? And the response often is, well, I want to distribute my video everywhere, like YouTube,
I see. So like
Spotify.
Put it up on Transistor first, the video, and then have Transistor zap it out to YouTube, Vimeo, wherever else.
That's right. We probably wouldn't syndicate it to Vimeo right now because they're not really I think they've switched to kind of B2B.
Yeah. I'm just old school. I'm just trying to think of like all the different places where you would want to put a video.
Yeah. Eventually, like I said, in Pocket Casts, if you're listening to the audio version and then you hear like maybe there was just a moment where you heard me say, oh, let's look and see which apps are down. You might want to switch to the video version just to see that and then switch back. You might get home and you might want to flip it to video and watch it on your TV. There is this is a bit of a moonshot also in a sense, because I am in a way taking on one of the strongest consumer behaviors and habits ever, which is YouTube. So there is a part of this that is me saying, along and me trying to coordinate along with the rest of the open podcast ecosystem, like, we have to at least try to have an alternative to YouTube. And the benefit is customers seem to be asking for it. I think so, because customers are asking for it. And I also think sometimes the zeitgeist or the serendipitous thing happens when you prepare for it. So, like talking to my teenagers, I do see with them and their friends, them grappling with internet addiction, especially with apps like YouTube, pulling them in with shorts and other things. And I do think there could be a countercultural movement. So already kids are looking for alternatives, ways to escape the bad internet and get to the good internet. And you see this reflected everywhere, even with old folks like us, like on the How About Tomorrow podcast, Adam and Dax were debating this too. Like, man, growing up in the 90s, we really got to experience the good internet. And now there's all this bad internet, which is addictive, which sucks you in, which has you scrolling forever. And so, yeah, part of me is also saying, let's prepare for that. And if there is a cultural movement, let's say with Gen Z, where they're saying, you know what, screw YouTube, I'm done with that, I want to go to something more mindful, we can say, well, there's an app on your phone called Apple Podcasts, and it supports video. And maybe I can convince Apple, I'm talking to them right now, about supporting HLS. It could happen.
It's interesting. I have a hard time wrapping my head around the use case and the market justification for this. But like, I also think that you probably know a lot more about this than I do. And we talked about this last time, where like, I'm an old school podcast listener, right? I don't know what the younger generations are doing necessarily, but I don't really hear anything from my use case. Like, it doesn't sound like it's solving problems that I would want to solve. But and the other thing that I question, just from the standpoint of like Transistor the business, right, is like, yeah, you might be totally right that there is a market, or there's a growing movement of a younger generation who wants to receive content in that way. But are there businesses and content creators and podcast creators who are your customers who want to deliver that experience? Like, yeah,
they want it for sure. Like, we get asked multiple times, sometimes multiple times per day, if we do video podcast hosting. And for a long time, we were clarifying that, like, what do you mean by that? Are you just talking about just doing it on YouTube? And, you know, some of this, because Spotify now supports video, that's helped. And because some of the podcast players like Pocket Casts are also rolling out support for video, it's become more ubiquitous. But right now, the headline on Transistor is called Publish Your Podcast Everywhere. And we arrived at that headline by observing the customer's behavior, which is, what's the job to be done? I just want my show to be everywhere. Even though many of them have never heard of Overcast or Podcast Addict or any of these things. But when they see that option of like, oh, it's going everywhere, there's something about it that just makes it feel like I'm getting distribution everywhere. And as video becomes more of a thing, and because there's already 2 big channels that offer video, and I'm hoping there will be a third with Apple Podcasts, people, just creators, want to have it everywhere. And so that's what we're going to try to do.
I know this isn't like quite what you're talking about, but like, one job to be done or use case to me is like the clips thing, like taking, and you've been doing this for the panel podcast, like taking a clip Because that is how I actually consume podcasts on video. If I ever consume podcasts on video, I almost never watch an entire episode on video. I'm watching their 10-minute clip.
Yeah.
Like that's how I consume Conan's podcast, is 10-minute clips. Like I was watching like 10 minutes of Bill Simmons last night on YouTube. And then I switched to the audio version of that when I was in the car today to hear like the rest of the long form.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm interested in
and there are a lot of video platforms where, and this is something that like I just find a total pain because and this is why I rarely ever do it, is like take a long form piece of video content that I've created and chop it up for whatever, TikTok, which I've never posted to, or like YouTube Shorts, or Reels, or like all these short form things, and each platform has its own limits. Like some of them are only 1 minute, and I think LinkedIn is like you have up to 15 minutes. Like taking your long form podcast from Transistor and automatically saying like, here are 3 clips based on the most interesting parts of your transcript. We've already clipped them. They're ready to go. Just click this button and you can disseminate them out to your,
that stuff is all possible. I mean, that would be quite a bit further downstream. I want to be clear, like Transistor is a profitable company. I have bandwidth to engage with some of this. So I've taken a much more active role with the Podcast Standards Project. I'm doing a lot of behind the scenes advocacy with executives at Apple and executives at Spotify, and talking a lot with other hosting providers and apps because I find it interesting. I love the open web, and we have some bandwidth to do it. And I think, if it doesn't work out, this bet, it's not the worst thing. We can try it, but customers are asking for it, and this will be a higher priced offering. Sure. So it'll be in one of the higher price tiers.
The other interesting angle maybe you can think about there is like you are sort of charting some new ground, some new territory in the podcasting space, that this, HTC?
HLS.
HLS.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm so maybe there's some technology there that you can figure out and deploy for Transistor and sell to other podcasting companies, be like the start to become more of like an infrastructure provider for like not only podcasting companies, but like even like any SaaS that's offering any sort of like media recording, streaming, messaging, delivery. Like this could be the way to tap into that network of content, is like using your like API for this or whatever it is.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Just looking at the comments here from the live viewers. One thing someone mentioned is Cloudflare Stream, and Cloudflare Stream is a great example of a product that is not priced appropriately for our use case. It would be so expensive to use, in this case, Cloudflare Stream, which is built for this use case, but nobody I know uses it. Like Aaron didn't use it for their screencasting.com stuff. It's just not priced well. I don't know who's using it. Maybe big enterprise customers are using it, but we have to find a different solution.
I don't know how that's a different service from Cloudflare, but I don't know how all their main services, like their domain stuff, the DNS, the page hosting, all that stuff is free and great, and I just love it. I love Cloudflare so much, and I just can't believe I use so much of their services for free. It's insane.
And unfortunately, they have a few things that are like, so this is the article I was telling you by Aaron, delivering 15 terabytes of 4K video with Cloudflare R2 for $2.18. So this is where we're kind of headed. And again, video's hard. He compares it to like the cost. Their monthly cost is $2.18 on Cloudflare. It would be $1,500 on Vimeo, $5,000 on Wistia, or about $1,300 on Mux. And so, and then he goes into HLS as well and what they're doing. So if you're not using Cloudflare Stream, you have to encode yourself with FFmpeg. By the way, FFmpeg, I think we all owe them a check, you know?
Right.
Like, thank God for, like, these guys
That's
are,
incredible.
open source guys are just like, plugging away. They've produced this utility that is used by everybody, including trillion-dollar corporations.
I do want to do maybe like a separate panel episode. We've already had some people on the show before who are big in open source, but like it still sort of boggles my mind. I get like when there's like large companies who are sort of behind these tools, but I don't understand the indie. I'm so appreciative of these like smaller indie developers who put amazing things out to the world open source. But I just don't know how they sustain it unless they have some business model that makes sense with it, you know?
Yeah. We're going to try to make some donations. We were talking about it in our team meeting today. Like, we got to actually, put our money where our mouth is on some of these and actually donate to these projects.
Yep.
Anyway, there's Zach is wondering after our last panel when Adam was talking, if I've changed my mind about AI. But let's switch to you. What's going on in your world? What are you thinking about working on? What's the secret project like?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. So first of all, I had my first, I think, like hit video on my YouTube channel
nice.
This week. It's up to like something like 35,000 views.
Woo!
And it was like, it dropped the same day as our podcast episode last week. And I just released a follow-up video to it today. It's about building with AI. Like, and so like that
there it is. 34,000 views.
Yeah. I think my subscribers went up by like 2,000 just in the past week off of this. Like the game with YouTube is so interesting how it's like, I knew I wasn't really maximizing the opportunity on YouTube this year, even though I've been publishing so much there. I've been so focused on the instrumental components product and showing that and building it and shipping it. But now I feel like starting last week and now again this week, I can finally focus on like actually building the brand and the topic focus and the new business that I'm trying to build, which is like helping people. I'm trying to play with different headlines and elevator pitches for this, but the one that I don't love this, but it's like helping professionals gain leverage in the age of building with AI. Something along those lines. It sounds a little bit too corporate.
Yeah. The helping blank gain leverage might be a bit too corporate, but
I know
you're directionally there. You're directionally there. So give it to us again so we can listen.
Helping us gain leverage in this age of building with AI.
Us as in devs?
Builders.
Okay.
So software designers, developers, people building software at the professional level. So you're not a hobbyist. In terms of my target market for this new business that I'm working on now.
That you're about to reveal.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't have a website for it, so I'll give you the domain in a second, but there's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's aimed at what I'm calling builders.
Okay.
Professional builders. So you are I think there are probably two sides of this market, or two flavors of this market, right? I think the main dish is professional full stack designer developers, or maybe more developers, who've been coding by hand for many years. They've made a career out of this. But here we are in 2025. The reality is setting in. Tools like Claude Code and Cursor are here. They're not going away. This is not a fad.
Yeah.
Like, it's time to start embracing the new way of building software. And I'm hearing this from multiple people, multiple teams, that we all feel like we're behind the curve. We all feel like we are not staying ahead of it. We're not keeping up with the new way of building, because frankly, we just don't have time to tinker and play around with all the latest tools all day, because we have to be shipping our current projects, our work.
Yes. Yeah. I felt this a lot. Like after our conversation last week, I was inspired enough that I was like, okay, I'm going to set aside 2 hours to jump into one of these. Didn't happen. I'm busy.
Busy.
I've got it's too much to go. I don't have time to tinker.
On that same point, so I just booked a coaching engagement that I talked last week about the guy who reached out.
Yeah.
For this. So we just booked that. I'm actually going to be doing it next week. So he and his team are paying me to work with his developers and just look over their shoulder, watch them work, offer them tips. Hey, maybe we can consider, building things this way or using this tool or whatever that might be. Right. So
I could see that being very useful, by the way. Just as someone looking over your shoulder and going, okay, hey, like.
Have you tried it this way?
Yeah.
The interesting pain point that I think that this is solving is like, if you think about a developer who's like employed at a SaaS company, they are not being paid to go tinker and explore and play around with the newest tools. They're being paid to ship this week's feature that they have to ship, right? So they are like correctly not like they're doing a good job at what they're being paid to do.
Yeah.
And so that's why it sort of makes sense to like I'm not necessarily trying to be a consultant or a coach in this, but I'm speaking to what the pain point is. The main vision for this business is more of a training company, content and training company.
Yeah.
But I think out of the gate, the first revenue is going to come from some form of coaching.
Yeah. So just for me to kind of wrap up what I just heard, you put this idea out into the world. You had some people approach you and say, our team wants that right now.
The interesting thing is I didn't even put it out to the world.
Oh, people are just approaching you.
Yeah.
So, which is a good sign because, like I said, I think this is perfect for you because in my mind, you've been that guy for a long time, like early versions of ChatGPT, and you were like, people need to be using this. So someone approached you, said, hey, can you help my team do this? You're doing that engagement partly to get some money right now, but mostly for learning to set up kind of this next business, which will be around these pain points.
So the name that I settled on for this new business is going to be Builder Methods. I got buildermethods.com. You can go there. There's nothing there yet.
I'm going to go right there right now.
My goal for this week or next week is to get some sort of early landing page up on that domain. Here, let me just give you what I think is going to be the rollout over the next month.
Okay.
Next couple of months. I want you to poke holes in this. Okay. So I think that my top priority right now with Builder Methods is to launch something on buildermethods.com. There has to be like an email, this whole business is going to be about growing the email list.
Yes.
Well, two things, like growing the YouTube channel and the email list. The YouTube channel is the top of the funnel distribution for this. Like I'm really trying to be like all in on that is going to be the channel.
Yeah.
Every single week, I'm going to be doing at least one new video. I did last week was a hit. The one that dropped today is off to a pretty good start today. It's all these videos going forward are going to be building with AI, and then I need to get people from YouTube onto the email list.
Yeah.
My thought for the email list is I really like this idea of doing workshops, like live workshops. So, but I don't have a lot of bandwidth to do live workshops all the time. But I do like. I think I'm going to be doing like quarterly workshops, and maybe the first one is going to happen in July.
Okay.
But I'm thinking about roughly every 3 months, I'm going to do a new workshop, like a live workshop.
Yeah.
I think the first one will probably be free, but I'll start to charge for these, like a low dollar amount to come to the next live workshop.
Yeah.
Maybe in between, like during those 3 months, people can opt in to see a recording of the current workshop.
Yeah.
But that's the main email lead magnet, to get lots of people onto the email list. And this is like growing the leads. The reason why I think it's good to do like a new or a fresh workshop every 2 or 3 months is because this space keeps changing and updating.
Yeah.
Right. Like the one that I do 3 months from now should be focused on like, this is the new current way to build with Cursor. And then 3 months after that, they're going to release all sorts of new features and tools that like, all right, now we got to talk about this, you know? And also like, I just got to keep learning, got to keep hearing questions, hearing what the pain points are. So there's that quarterly cadence with workshops. In between, you can see the recordings. That's like the email magnet.
Yeah.
On the weekly cadence, I'm creating and publishing new YouTube videos, and that is based on it. Like I need a good 2 or 3 days every week, at least, of just tinkering and playing around. Right.
Yeah.
So like this video that I dropped today is all about the background agents feature in Cursor, which is new. It took me probably 2 days of playing with the feature and then 2 days of recording and then re-recording the video.
Yeah.
To get a solid take on this.
That is, how are you feeling about that part? Like everything you've said so far sounds good to me. The big question mark in my head is like, man, that sounds like a lot of energy, a lot of time.
It's tough. And I think a thing that I need to be improving over time is the efficiency, right? So like my efficiency at taking an idea for a YouTube video and getting it into a recordable state and then an editable state. Yeah. Like that's taken me hours now. That needs to cut down. And I think that efficiency will come through. It's a muscle, right? Like just knowing how to, like I did 2 takes of today's video, right? The first one, I was too ambitious. I made the demo content like way too complicated, and it ended up breaking while I was recording it. Yeah. And I had to, so then I did like a second take where I just did like a simpler demo. Yeah. And so like things like that, I'm just going to get better and better at to increase the speed. Yeah. Same with the editing workflow. I'm using Descript right now. I have some complaints about it, but there are some things that can get faster. That's one thing.
This is actually something I think like people do not realize how much time it takes to produce video. Video is just unbelievable. Even like I'm pretty good at a standard video for me is I just hit record. I have kind of in my head what I want to talk about. Hopefully I've been working it out, just demoing it for customers or whatever. And so I can just hit record and basically record it beginning to end. Not in one take. I might have a few gotchas along the way, but that's done. And I've got a 30 minutes of video that I need to get down to 5 or 10. Yep. That part, just even when, like for some people, just recording the video is hard. That part, I just turn this camera on, turn this light on, turn this light on, hit record, goes right into my computer. I don't even use an SD card. It's just like right into my computer. Done. Editing. Yeah, editing, dude. I was working with an editor for the first part of this year, and he ended up taking a full-time job somewhere. And that was really great because I do have an easy setup here to just flip the camera on, get my raw recording into Dropbox, and I can give it to him. Yeah. So like most of the videos that I published earlier this year were edited by him. Yeah. And that was fantastic. It was like less than an hour of my time. I'm done. Yeah. But and he's pretty good at what he does. But I must say, like now I'm putting so much more care and love into the creation of my videos, with me editing them and finding just the right B-roll to show, and and like editing every line and like really like writing every line of the script and all this stuff. Like, I think it's a really important part of this whole thing that I'm doing is like high quality and just ever improving quality on the YouTube channel. I do think that there's a gap on YouTube too. Like there's obviously like a ton of people showing YouTube videos about how to vibe code the next $1 million app in 20 minutes, right? Yeah. There's a lot of that kind of garbage right now. And I'm
like this video that did well last week, I got like 200 comments on it. I think that there are a lot of like professionals who are like finally someone who's given some like real talk about building with AI. You know,
I'm curious. Have you looked at the analytics for it yet? Like, how did people find it?
I haven't dug into it too much. I know that most of the videos come through the algorithm. You know.
Yeah, like I think because I edited just a piece of our conversation with Adam and published it on my channel, and it's always just interesting to see where things come from, like how people find it. And this one was YouTube recommendations. 66.6% of views came from YouTube home. So just getting recommended on the homepage.
Yep.
And then up next was 20%. Everything else, like I sent it to my email list. That's somewhere down here. I sent it to, and actually
the interesting thing about that, like, I think that I've done like a lot of like research into how to grow on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually like not like, I actually try not to promote my YouTube videos outside of YouTube. Like I don't tweet them very much.
Really?
I don't put them on Bluesky. Occasionally I'll send it to my newsletter, but I think the thing to be careful of there is that like, it could be a negative signal to YouTube's algorithm if the views are coming from elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because what YouTube's algorithm really wants is they want to know that people are discovering it organically and they are sticking with it and watching. Like if you can get that watch time, in other words, make it interesting enough so that they don't press stop and go away.
Yeah.
If people are watching long enough because they discovered it through the algorithm, then YouTube wants to keep promoting that.
Interesting, because the traditional wisdom was always like, you want to, at some point I heard the algorithm liked it when there was initial wave of interest and watch time. But I think you might be right. Like
they do want to see that early action, but like their algorithm sends people who they think are perfectly aligned with this topic. So they want to make sure that like, okay, we found the product market fit for this video.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so excited about YouTube in general as a platform for marketing,
I do think there's lots of opportunity here still for, this is going to sound so funny but I think in terms of if anyone out there is looking for a job, I'm not necessarily saying I would hire you for this, but I think there is an opportunity for video editors that can edit quickly with YouTube in mind. And
I feel like Descript is trying to be this.
Yeah.
And I'm using them. They've gotten good. It's not there yet. Like it's pretty slow and clunky. It's still a little bit overcomplicated than it should be. But it's pretty cool now how they have a tool where I can like automatically cut out bad takes.
Yeah.
So I often say lines like 3 or 4 times, like it'll just keep the last one. And it obviously, it does a really good job of getting rid of all the ums.
Yeah.
And they have some secret sauce that really make it seamless. So that's kind of cool. But
still,
I want to also get your take on the product, like revenue and product.
Yeah. So just to leave this, I do think there's lots we could talk about in the future. And there's probably an Aaron Francis connection point here, which is, and you're so great at this process. Like, what's the process for efficiently creating video? And I feel like I have the first part of it nailed. I've got a studio set up, camera on, and I give up some video quality by just having it go right into my Ecamm Live, right into ScreenFlow, or not Ecamm Live, my Camlink. It goes right into my Camlink, and then
that's what I do too. Yeah,
record it in ScreenFlow, and then the video's on my machine. I don't have to take an SD card out and put it in, and it's just videos on my machine.
Same. Yeah.
That part after that, which is like structuring it so there's some sort of hook, and it's almost like I wish I could just have a producer come and look at all the video and then say, okay, Justin, you need to record one more bit just to bring people in. And
my process keeps changing on this. I keep what I'm finding now is that I'm removing layers from my process and just going bare bones to like the most essential pieces, right?
Yeah.
The technical setup, mine is exactly the same as you. I've got a big light right here.
Yeah.
Got my camera, cam link. Now I'm recording directly into Descript, but I used to record directly into ScreenFlow. The only reason I use Descript instead of ScreenFlow is because they have the script-based editing. If as soon as ScreenFlow adds that, like I'm switching back to ScreenFlow.
Yeah,
frankly, but I don't think they are. So that's the technical setup. But I now focus on I spend a lot of time like planning the topic and what the title and the thumbnail are going to be before I even record.
Yeah.
I think that's the key strategy on YouTube is like think about how you're going to package this thing before you even create it.
Yes.
And I'm using some AI, so I'll have like the raw idea. It's mostly from me, and then I'll throw it into ChatGPT. Like, can we punch up this this title idea? And I also really write word for word, at least the intro section, like the first 30 seconds. I'm writing that word for word.
Yeah.
Script. Again, it's like the most important thing. You got to hook them and try to get them to stay for the whole video.
Yeah.
Lately I just get into the groove of writing, like copywriting, that I end up writing the script for most of the video. But I only really read off of the script in the first 30 seconds. And when I say read, I mean like I sit here and I try to memorize a line and then I say it. Then I memorize a line and then I say it, you know?
Yeah.
And when I'll say it like 6 times before I'm happy with how I said it.
Yeah.
But I just let it roll for like an hour, and that gets cut down to like a 15-minute video.
Yeah. And that's the part that's have you been using, before we leave this, I'm just in this mode as well. Have you been using the YouTube thumbnail tester?
No, I probably should.
Oh, dude, you gotta use.
I just kind of only have time to create the one thumbnail. I'll snap a photo of myself in the same shirt that I wore for the recording and same lighting and everything. And then lately I've been using Pixelmator Pro to just whip up a thumbnail image.
Yeah. Yeah.
But beforehand I'm giving a lot of thought to like, all right, what's the title going to be and what's the text that I'm going to have on the thumbnail? But like all of that informs how I actually write the script and then what I'm focusing on in the video. Like,
yeah,
I have that concept beforehand.
Yeah, that I think is key.
Yeah.
A good, some homework for you and me and everybody else is go watch some of Stephen Robles's videos, Robles. He's just a master at setting up that intro in a way and structuring his videos in a way that hooks the user, the viewer, and brings them in.
The other thing I've been meaning to do, I haven't gotten around to it, is just go back to older videos and update the thumbnail.
Yeah.
That works really well. And I know that I have a few videos from like 2 or 3 months ago. Like I have one on Ruby on Rails on AI.
Yeah.
Right. And that's still one of my best performing videos now. It's like 3 or 4 months old.
It's still getting views.
Yeah, and it's got like a really crappy thumbnail. Like what if I actually improved the thumbnail? I'd probably do even better.
I've now gotten in the habit of doing those tests every time. It's just basically, if you haven't seen it at home for the listener, it's just an A/B tester. And so for this last video, I tested. It's always 3 variations. Usually my first, and I just make these in Canva. So my first thumbnail is probably not that good, and then my you can't see this now in Canva, but I've made the second one was a big winner. It was like 54%.
People want more Adam.
But I also think it was the headline, forced to use AI. So I took something he said, which was I forced myself to use AI. And this is a trick Aaron Francis taught me. It was just like the less words in the title, the better. And the more it kind of like opens up a curiosity loop, the better. And so it was just forced to use AI.
Does that automatically select the winner and use that going forward?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I've found this very helpful. and this is the biggest winner I've ever had.
Yeah, I mean, really, we should just be creating like 3 thumbnails for every video.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
And like I said, this is my approach in Canva is I just create 3 separate pages and I just pull in images and then I'm just like, it's pretty simple. I'm not doing anything crazy here. I try to always stick with this font and that's it.
Love it.
Okay.
All right. So
let's talk about money.
Going to make money.
Yeah.
Okay. My thought is, I don't know what the ultimately what the product line is going to be from this thing. I'm trying to focus all the energy up front on like grow the distribution channel, grow YouTube, right? and grow the email list, and also learn from the market and figure out. But I think that it'll probably end up being courses.
Okay.
And there can be a few different types of these. We could talk about that. And maybe sponsorships will play an element in this. I would say there's a short-term, medium, long-term, right? So short-term, like right now is like coaching.
Yeah.
And I think coaching can come in like 1-to-1. It can be some team coaching. It might be like one-time sessions, like a one-time audit, or it might be a month thing with your team, or maybe like a private workshop with your team. That could be some like upfront revenue that I have already started selling now.
I like that idea. Yeah.
I don't intend to do that for very long.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that for very long. The courses, I think one flavor, probably medium term in the next couple of months, could be what are the most obvious, very obvious, like tightly scoped self-serve courses that I can create. Like maybe like an intro to using Cursor or mastering Cursor or something like that. But like, or like prompting for development, prompting techniques, or I don't know. Like, I don't know what they're going to be, but like very, very tightly focused things. Think a couple $100 each. So like not very expensive.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really interested in that specific topic right now. Let me grab that off the shelf and do it.
Yeah.
That could be like a medium term thing. I think ultimately most of these businesses end up making their way toward like a cohort based flagship course.
Yeah.
Right. Where like roughly 3 times a year, I'm running a 3-month program and it's a 4-figure price tag to get in on that. And you're joining a cohort of other members and myself. And like together we're building something or we're like, we're upping our development game over the next 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Right. And we're in a private group and it's live and async, but you're joining the spring cohort and then I'll do another one in the summer and then another one in the fall.
Yeah.
And those will be like the big moneymaker, right?
Yeah. Can I just pause here and say one thing I like about both of these ideas is they both can leverage Clarity Flow. So in idea number 1, you're the coach and Clarity Flow is async video messaging and just messaging and payments and other things for coaches. And then the second idea, which is some sort of course and then moving to a cohort-based course that might be async and live. That's a really great way for you to use your own software.
I expect I will. I use Clarity Flow every single day anyway with people.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily, I don't see it as a requirement to like integrate these businesses. I don't feel like absolutely tied to, we must use Clarity Flow for everything, but I do happen to use Clarity Flow for most of these types of things. So I expect I will be using it,
Yeah. So sorry, do you think long-term, a cohort-based course is maybe the thought, or a mix of that and sponsorship?
Yeah. I mean, it remains to be seen how interested I am in that sort of rhythm. I'm historically very, very async. I don't like doing things live. I don't like having a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
But maybe I can grow to like this sort of thing.
Yeah.
I again, I think the subject matter of this is like with when I was doing the productized course over 10 years ago, I created that course and then I sold it for like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did maybe a few improvements to it here and there over those years, but like it was like set it and forget it for a long time.
Yeah.
That's not going to work here.
No.
Like, this type of subject matter has to keep staying fresh. So the more live elements and like whatever I create this quarter is going to be updated or completely redone next quarter. And I think that goes for my lightweight workshops.
Yeah.
It goes for my YouTube content. It goes for the flagship cohort, like the spring 2026 cohort should probably have very different content than like the spring 2027 cohort.
Yes.
Like, because things are going to evolve so much over that period of time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, the beginning of any idea, you're in the fog of war and you don't really know as you explore the map, like what's going to reveal itself. So for example, you might publish a YouTube video every week on how to build with AI, and you might get right away a massive email list. It could happen. And then right away, it might be like, you know what? The best model for this is sponsorship. There's tons of AI companies.
That's the other thing. You know, it's funny enough, like literally today, I got the first email. Somebody just emailed me randomly because that video went crazy last week. So they're from an AI tool. They're like a plugin for VS Code.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, like we'd love to do a collaboration with you. Can you do a video about like how this compares to Cursor?
Yeah.
Now, Frank, honestly, what I told him, I was like, look, I plan to do sponsorships maybe later this year.
Yeah.
I haven't started doing that, but I do plan to. I'm just curious to know, like, how much do you usually pay for that? Like, have you done these things with other YouTubers before? I'm not quite ready right now to just do a video next week for this random product.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I would do a whole video for just anyone who wants to sponsor.
Yeah.
But you know, that does come with the territory of like, if I do grow the channel to tens or hundreds of thousands of subscribers over time, like sponsored YouTube videos, or at least sponsorship spots in my YouTube videos, is definitely a thing that can happen. You know?
How often do you think you'll do the email newsletter?
That's another good question. My idea, this is totally up in the air, is like, my thought was to do a once a month newsletter. I just I won't have the bandwidth to do a weekly thing, unless it was a little bit more automated. But I like the idea of somehow carving out the time once a month to say to really write, like, this I think is the most important idea that I'm thinking about this month.
I'm still, I could be wrong. I'm still kind of feeling like this needs to be a weekly email. And it's only because it's so, in today's environment more than ever.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the whole discussion Ian and Aaron were having over at Mostly Technical, which is so many people didn't realize that Aaron was releasing a new course. And us builders fall into this all the time. We're like, well, I sent 5 emails, you know, like, how come nobody got it? And it's just like your hit rate. Like, there's email newsletters that I would say I quote unquote love and that I am a active reader of, but I actually only read 1 out of 4. And I just worry about the hit rate on a monthly podcast, a monthly email newsletter. It just might not, even if it's amazing and people think, oh yeah, Brian's newsletter is amazing, it just might not have, you might get more out of it if it was every week.
Well, I think that people will still receive more emails through my email systems, like the automated drip campaign. So once you attend a live workshop, or once you get into the email list somehow, I'll have campaigns set up in Kit to nurture you and to sell you on the product that you haven't bought yet. Like, that's the vision for, like, that's why these types of businesses grow their email lists. Is like okay, like get into the free or the low cost workshop and you'll be upsold on the cohort program next time it comes around.
Yeah.
And then also like having like a lineup, a product lineup of like, oh, you're interested in Cursor? We have a Cursor course. Oh, you're interested in Claude Code? Take our Claude Code course, right? So like, so we can, and I can have like surveys where I'm tagging people and, oh, you expressed interest in Rails with AI. So maybe, you know, we have specialized products and courses that you can trigger with automated email campaigns through that. Like that's the vision. It'll take years to build all that stuff out, but
in terms of a subscriber magnet, I think another thing you could suggest, I think workshops is a good thing to test. Another thing that I'm kind of thinking about is just, again, what's the problem that a lot of us are having, which is just like, I've got to make the time to just jump in to one of these things and do a crash course on it. And I think a like 5 email or 3 email sequence, which is like, here's your 3-day crash course. I'll send you an email each day. I'll give you one distinct task on what to do, and you are going to do it, you know, and you're going to finally get this off your anxiety list. And
I really like
check
that.
It,
yeah,
you know?
Totally. I had a productized crash course that was my go-to lead magnet for years. I like that, and like maybe an idea for that could be shift your mindset around like starting to have like an building with AI first mindset, coming from a hand coding mindset, and that's something that can be a little bit more timeless, and it could last a year or 2 years or more. Like I can create it, and it's just about mindset. It's not specific to any tool right now. You know?
But
yes.
Can I give you another idea I just had? This might be dumb, but what do you call those documents you create at first to set up the LLM? Like it's like a project. It's like
a PRD, the project requirement. Yep.
PRD generator. Like, is that a thing that could be a thing? Because I
think there's some tools that do that. Also, people are now offering Cursor rules as like offerings.
Yeah.
You know, like swipe my Cursor rules.
Yeah, that, and like I know you and Adam were talking about PRDs and Cursor rules and all this stuff, and I was like, okay. And then I like watched Ryan Carson's video, and then I went into the GitHub project, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. Like I exhausted myself. If I could just go somewhere and just like generate my PRD and my rules based on like, it just asks me a bunch of questions. I guess I could use ChatGPT for this, but maybe that could be, I guess that would be day one of the crash course. Like, here's how to finally get your PRD done. Or
I think the key is to have multiple lead magnets. Right. Like, and just develop them over time. All right, I got to get your take on one last piece of this.
One more thing,
and that is starting another podcast.
Jeremy, my Laravel friend Jeremy, who I always see at Laracon. I'm not going to see you this summer, Jeremy. I don't think, unfortunately, but he just commented, "Do you guys not have enough podcasts?"
No, we clearly don't. Got to do another one. And all right, so this is one that I really want to do. I have no idea when I'm going to have the time to do it.
Yeah, time is the key, Harry.
But I think I'll probably just call it like the Builder Methods podcast.
Okay.
It's going to be a thing for this business. And here's what I want to do. I want to hop on video calls with guests. Show me how you are currently working. Show me your current projects. But especially people who are building with AI. Not like, this is not me coaching people who want to build with AI. I want to talk to builder friends who have already started embracing AI in their workflow.
Yeah.
And this is I'm trying to kill multiple birds with one stone here. The main thing is like, I need to be exposed to new ideas.
Yeah.
And I need to be doing like, the value that this whole business is offering is like, we're doing the research and development for you. So I need to have my finger on the pulse of like, what's Derek Reimer doing in his in his workflow?
Yeah. What is Derek
what's
Reimer
Josh
doing?
Pickford doing over it? I gotta ask him. I gotta ask him. I gotta record it. I gotta put it on a podcast.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't think that. One thing I'll say, as much as I'm a podcast person, that doesn't sound like a podcast to me. That just sounds like a supplement to your existing YouTube channel. Like, I'm going to do video.
That was going to be one of my questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a podcast.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So I want to do that. Like, I want to have like a series where I'm just always like, show me your work, show me your screen, show me what you're working on. Like, oh, that was an interesting shortcut, or, oh, you have an interesting approach to prompting or using agents.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and I think it'll be interesting content, but I'm looking for patterns.
Yeah.
That I can turn into like insights that I can develop into a YouTube video or course or something.
I mean, I love this idea because I think like that little segment I edited up of Adam talking about how he's using AI, I think it did well because I think a lot of people were curious about how he's using AI. Mm-hmm. And I think it would be fascinating. I mean, I would love to know how Derek Reimer is using AI. What was interesting about that conversation that we had last week was I got to listen to two smart people who are both very opinionated, you and Adam, basically say, this is how we're using it. And we're not thinking about it in the same way that the hype AI coder boys are thinking about it. Mm-hmm. This is real life application, how we're doing it. And I do think you're right. Like you said that earlier, I think that's refreshing. I think that's going to be refreshing on YouTube because maybe it's an older audience, you know, like that's who doesn't want all this hype. They just want, okay, I've been coding for 2 decades. What do I do? What do I do now?
I do think that there is I was saying earlier how there's like a couple different flavors of my target audience for this.
Yeah.
I do want to keep it focused on like, you're a professional, and a professional can mean a lot of things. It can mean you're a founder. It can mean that you work for a company. Or it could also mean like you're pretty junior. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the other flavor of, and I'm seeing this in some of the responses, like, I think that there are people who are vibe coding. Yeah. And they want to go pro, like, that's the title of the video there. But they're not trying to vibe code to like whip up an MVP that they can go sell and hack together. Mm-hmm. And like, they're trying to like make a career in software development. Yeah. And like, if you're trying to get into this industry right now, or grow in this, or maybe you started in this industry only 5 years ago. Yeah. Just before AI came through, you know, so you haven't gained years of experience yet, but like, you can't just keep going down the train of like, oh, I'm going to be a JavaScript writing expert. Yeah. Like, that's not going to help you anymore. Yeah. Like, you know, like you need to be an expert in building with AI, with Cursor.
See, this is what, you know, Dave Junta called out last episode was how to be, if you and Adam are saying the best way to use AI as developers is you first have to develop expertise. How are we going to get all of these junior developers who can't get a job to develop expertise? Like, there's a big gap there.
But there is an interesting thing there, because I'm definitely not saying you don't need to know anything about software development. Like, you can just vibe code your way to professionalism. Like, no. Yeah. You know, like, you do need to know how software applications get built, what the infrastructure, how that works, like how databases work, what happens when a user makes a request on a web page, where is that going to, how's it going through a controller and hitting a database, and like, you need to understand how these things work. You just don't need to know how to write a line of code yourself.
Although anymore. In my head,
you need to be able to read it. You don't have to write it. Yeah.
One kind of opinionated response to that is, I do think you've just identified two streams, like the experienced developer who's been programming for 2 decades that now needs to figure this out, and then that junior developer that's like just getting started. Those do feel like two audiences for me. Mm-hmm. And in my head, I think you should be going to the more extreme, even though I personally am very interested in this problem of how do we help junior developers. This one here feels like it might be a better fit for your goals, but
I think it's interesting because it's the other challenge. So like this client that I have next week who hired me to coach his team.
Yeah.
It's like the person making the buying decision is the founder or the CEO or the manager.
Yeah.
But he wants me to coach the junior employees.
Okay.
You know,
I'm surprised he has a team of
be,
juniors. It feels like nobody's hiring juniors.
The way that he described it was like they're not necessarily juniors.
Yeah.
But they're not. He's not competing with Google for like the best software talent out there. Like he's a bootstrapped SaaS, and he actually prioritized developers who really know his product space really well.
Mm-hmm.
They know that customer base, but they're not like the greatest. They're not the most competitive software developers.
Yeah. I mean, you could. I think you could like. This is one of those things that at the beginning of a project, it's the curse and it's the great thing is that you get to test out different approaches, because maybe there's a big market, for example, of junior developers. Like one pain point I'm picking up with junior developers is they're saying, I wish ChatGPT didn't exist because I can't go through the school of hard knocks to actually get that fundament. I can just be lazy with everything. I do think there's, in the future, the potential for a school that will take someone who's interested in programming and say, we're going to do this hard mode. Like that we are going to teach you all the things you would need to know if you were studying computer science in 2005, but in 2025. That does feel like a thing you could do, but I'm wondering for your market, maybe it's better to not. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking of like, how can I help? I really think that the wave and the opportunity is in the more experienced people getting up to speed.
Mm-hmm. That's how I feel too.
But there is this idea of like, how can I help you read vibe code? Like, like you don't really know anything about how stuff gets built, but like maybe I can teach you how the dots actually connect behind the scenes. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I must say, I've been sort of on the search for the last like 2 years for like, what is my next business going to be? Mm-hmm. This one feels like the first time that I feel like I'm actually timing something really right.
Yeah.
Everything else, I actually felt like my timing is off. Like instrumental components feels like the timing was off on that. And like, other ideas that I've had over the last year or two, had some ideas for like SaaS products, like maybe I'll do. And like, all right, like it just seems like a grind, like an uphill grind to like go find a customer and market and weasel my way in and make a business out of that. And this is the first one where I feel like I did one YouTube last week and it's going crazy.
Yeah.
And I did another one today, and also just seeing everyone I know keep talking about this same topic.
Yeah.
I don't know what the end product is going to be, but I just feel like I'm actually playing in the right pool right now.
I think so too. Like I said, I think this topic, like building with AI, is perfect for you because you've been talking about it for years. When most of the world was skeptical, you were the one person in my earbuds saying, no, I think this is actually going to be a big deal. And every time I put out a skeptical post, you were like, well, maybe think about it this way or whatever. So I think you already have this reputation, which is why unprompted that person approached you. And I kind of feel like if I was you, I would just be like, if you're going to give this a good go, like whatever you need to do on the YouTube channel to completely rebrand it so people know like this like is
it's like half not like I don't even have a website to promote yet, The what was I gonna say?
Yeah, you do buildermethods.com.
Yeah, I gotta update and get that going. Like I was thinking today, like, okay, I think the very first low-hanging fruit lead magnet that I could possibly do is a live workshop. I'm going to announce it. It's going to be some date in like July after my trip.
Yeah.
I'll probably just make it free, the first one.
Yeah.
But even that, like, I'm so early in this whole game that, like, I don't even know. We were just talking about, like, who should I make this workshop for?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what should the content of this workshop be? I really think it's just going to be an open, like, ask me anything, and, like, bring your questions.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you my current thinking on these questions, and I might have a couple bullet points that I can touch on, but, like, I don't have any curriculum yet. I just have some patterns and some concepts and some experience building with AI that, like, I really just need to listen and hear what are the most common questions being asked right now, and that's going to sort of guide the direction of everything right now, you know?
Yeah. Personally, it feels, I'm kind of leaning towards, just because I know there's so many existing software companies and software teams and agencies with experienced developers, with like businesses that are working, but they're stressed about this, they're thinking about it, and they have money. And so it feels like that approach, which is like Brian could come in and say, well, here's a bunch of things you might not even know about cursor rules or whatever. Like, I'm just going to help you set up all that stuff. I'm going to look at, like, what do most of your developers code in? Okay, well, here's what I would recommend for if you're in Visual Studio Code. Here's what I recommend. And I think
the guy who hired me for next week, he's like, I see it much like you're like a golf trainer. Like, you're just like observing the swing, giving some tips. Mm-hmm. I'm still up. It remains to be seen, like, how effective I can actually be on, like, a live call.
Yeah.
Because I do think that with this kind of stuff, it's a lot of, like, okay, here's a tip or a new workflow for you to consider. Now you got to spend the next few weeks, like changing around the way that you build stuff and rebuilding your muscle memory.
Yeah.
And like, it's not going to happen overnight, you know?
Yeah. I think that's going to be the value, because we've already exposed, like, if selling a product is saying, you're here, there's an obstacle here, and you don't know how to get over that obstacle to the thing that you want, the obstacle in front of experienced developers and teams is like, we've been doing something one way for 2 decades. We've just been coding things by hand, looking up answers on Stack Overflow, and now you're saying we need to change completely, and we've been getting paid for a lot of grunt work, like we talked about last week. And so the value, part of the value will be, I think, I know you want to think about this, so I'll give you a forcing function to think about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you how to do it, but then for there to be some sort of accountability on the other side in a week or 2 weeks, like, okay, I'm checking in. Have you been doing things the new way or the old way? And
right.
It's kind of like when you go to a drumming lesson and maybe you taught yourself how to drum, and then your drumming instructor goes, okay, sorry, bud, you've got some good things going there, but your technique's all wrong. You're going to have to relearn how to play the drums. And you're like, oh, God, I don't want to do that. And the drumming teacher says, I'm going to force you to do it for the next 3 weeks.
And you'll appreciate it.
I feel like people kind of need someone to be doing that for them.
Yeah. And there is some, like, structure, like, like, the other thing about, like, how I think about topics right now, and I think filling a niche is like the video I dropped today is called How to Crush Your Backlog Using Background Agents in Cursor. The thing that I find most interesting about topics like this is, like, why should I care about this thing? What is, like, I don't want to be the guy who's just saying, like, hey, you all need to be building with AI because that's the new way of doing it. Like, that's not good enough. There has to be a reason.
Yeah.
There has to be an incentive for you and your team to actually change up the way that you build stuff. Yeah. Because there has to be a payoff. You have to be getting some speed benefits or product benefits or whatever that might be, right? So Cursor just dropped this new background agents feature. Codex, like OpenAI's Codex, is essentially the same thing. That both of them are background agents, right?
Yeah.
Like, Unlike Claude Code, unlike normal Cursor where you're working directly like in the foreground with the agent, these are like, give it a task, go get a coffee, and it's going to keep working. Right?
Yeah.
So, but like, why is that actually interesting? Right? It's like, all right, cool. But like, it's, to me, it's like about your backlog.
Yeah.
Like you have this backlog of things that you need to ship or bugs that you need to fix.
Yep.
And your backlog is the reason why you can't ship your main big features fast enough, because your backlog keeps distracting you, right? And so it's like, okay, this feature is interesting, but the reason it's interesting is because you can now offload your backlog so that you can focus on the main dish. You know? Like I'm trying to, I feel like that's a theme that I want to sort of like be known for in all of my content. It's like, okay, like what's actually worth paying attention to, and why should I even care? Like, well, this is why.
Yeah.
And then I'll show you how to do it. You know?
And I think as you pay attention and observe what people are saying, as you observe them kind of struggling out loud, I think you're going to get the clues to a lot of that stuff. Like that's why coaching, I think early on can be so helpful, because then you're actually observing the dynamics. And and if you could do that with a few different teams, I think you would be able to see it's maybe there's different jobs to be done with different teams, like, for Transistor, it's like we have 2 full-time engineers on the product side. And the biggest struggle we have is like, we can really only focus on like one thing at a time. And our pace is good. Like we ship fast, but there's always the feeling of like, I wish we could ship more faster.
Yeah.
And
like I have one developer on Clarity Flow, and like literally like half of her time is fixing bugs and the other half is building the next feature, right? Like imagine if she's only building the next feature. And
there's lots of opportunities in here too. One thing in the chat I wanted to call out, I think this was Dustin. I might be wrong. Sorry. But they said, a good course, or Ryan said DevOps for vibe coders. I think it would be really good, because that's going to be a huge thing. Like I don't know if you saw that article I wrote, but I think, what's really hard about software is maintenance. And I just keep thinking like a lot of this stuff that we're exploring right now with, vibe coding, it's actually not that new. Like there was this whole open source clone wave where if you wanted your own to-do app, you could clone a project really easily on GitHub, maybe modify it a bit, and then deploy it to Heroku. All of that could take like 20 minutes.
Yeah. And then there was a big like no code.
And then there's a big no code movement. And the problem with both of those, incidentally, is that you just like, I'm still getting Dependabot security vulnerability warnings for projects I built ages ago. And anybody that's been around software for a long time knows, like, that's what kills you. Like, you've still got this thing running on some Heroku machine, or I got a bill for like $500 because somebody had discovered this opening on AWS and was just like hammering it, trying to, like, those are the real problems, is vulnerabilities, dependencies, keeping versions up to date. Then you finally go back into it and you're, 3 versions of Laravel behind and there's no upgrade path. And that could be a huge topic, which is like, you're building more. How can you actually do the other side of that?
One thing that sort of makes me nervous about this is that like, I don't consider myself like a really great, like all around. I am full stack. I can build full stack design, development, front end, back end applications.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't know everything there is to know. Certainly not across the board on different tech stacks and programming languages. And DevOps is like the where I'm the least experienced. You know? And so like, but I think if I focus more on like the workflow and the tooling of building with AI, like I don't have to be the expert in JavaScript or, databases or whatever that might be. Like, I just need to know like what the big pieces mean and what their role is and how to work with them. And I know my personal tech stack of choice and stuff, but like, I think if I could just relate to most of it, and really that's the same mindset that I've always had. Is like I just need to know just enough to be able to ship my own products.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in this case, I feel like I am in a space finally where I could actually carve out a niche where I can be a deep expert on using Cursor and using background agents and using MCP and like, you know, because I wouldn't feel qualified like teaching even like Rails. Like I know a lot about Rails now, but like I wouldn't really feel qualified teaching a course on like writing, you know, Ruby or like a database course or like JavaScript.
I mean, that's why I think this is your sweet spot. Yeah.
It is kind of cool, especially now that I have a little bit of revenue through this and doing some coaching stuff where it's like, actually, I feel like my new job now is to stay on top of this.
Yeah.
And to build like demo apps and tinker around and spend a day or two just playing with this stuff so that I can make the next YouTube video, so that I can coach someone on this or develop course material. Like, it's actually kind of cool to feel like, all right, now I feel justified in being able to go out and play around with these tools.
Yeah.
Whereas for the last 2 years, it's been like, I don't want to pull the trigger on that until I know that there's a market to validate, or like, I'm not going to build this app until I know that's really the way I want to go. Like, now I can just, like, yesterday I just built a habit tracking app. It's not a real product.
Yeah. It's
just something to use for a YouTube video.
Yes.
Like, you know, so it's kind of fun to do
yeah.
that. You know?
Like I said, I love this idea. Let's wind down, but everyone should go to buildermethods.com. By the time this episode is published, it
just keep hitting refresh.
Keep hitting refresh, everybody.
And eventually there will be something.
Right now, the whole internet is down. Is the whole internet still down? I don't know. Also, next week, I think we're going to try to record live again. Is that right? June 19th, 12:15.
I'm here next week.
PM.
I won't be here the following.
Pacific. Show up for that. I want to thank all the people. I think we should do some shout outs at the end of the episodes for people who show up live. So we've got Dustin LeBlanc. We got Zach Gilbert.
Yeah, Zach Gilbert.
Jeremy Vout. Aaron Francis showed up.
Oh, Aaron Francis was in there. Emmett.
We had Emmett. Ryan Hefner.
Ryan Hefner. Yeah.
Anyone else we missed there? Michael Coper.
Andrew Askins. Cool.
Ariel. Yeah. Thanks for showing up. And Tony as well. So...
yeah, we're talking paradiddles. I've been doing drum lessons. I got a Drumeo.
Oh, is that what a drum is? A paradiddle drum thing?
Yeah, like a drum rudiment.
Okay, okay, I missed that. I didn't know what he was talking about. Thanks everyone for showing up. We'll see you next week live.
Later, folks.
Bye.